Alright, boys and girls, today's lesson is lesson 8-6, formula for the area of a parallelogram. So, today you're going to be able to say, or hopefully you can say, I can find the area of a rectangle, I can learn a formula for finding the area of a parallelogram, and I can find perimeter. Okay, perimeter is kind of the easy one. Let me pull up the grid paper here. Perimeter is just the outside of any shape that you might have, any polygon that you have. But if I just color in, it's not perfect, but if I just outline those squares that are all, remember, 1 centimeter each, there's a few things you can find here. There's a couple things you can find. You can find the area or the perimeter. Okay, the perimeter, you just add all the sides, all the distance around the shape. So you just basically, if you know each of these are 1 centimeter, you just count how many lines you have. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So my perimeter equals 16 centimeters. Make sure you put that unit of measurement down there, because that'll tell me what the answer really is. Another way you can find the perimeter there, you can just count the top. You know that this is a rectangle because there's no angles. I mean, there's no, because they're all 90 degree angles. So if you just count the top, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, you have 5 up here. And if you count the bottom, it's going to be 5 down there. And the sides, 1, 2, 3. And 3. So you could just add all those up. 5 plus 5 is 10. 3 plus 3 is 6. 10 plus 6 is 16. To find the area is length times width, or base times the height. You can do either of these. Remember, the length or base is here, and the width or height is here. So, knowing that it's a 5 by 3, well, let's first, I'm going to erase this and this, because you know that if it's a rectangle, the top and bottom are going to be the same, and each side are going to be the same. So, you know that it should be 5 times 3, because that is length times width, or base times height. So that equals 15, and hopefully you all know the unit of measurement, which the unit of measure here is centimeters squared, because we're talking about all the squares in the inside. So the answer is 15 centimeters square. Okay, so this is kind of a refresher for perimeter and area, but today we're going to learn about area of a parallelogram, because a parallelogram, some parallelograms will have angles. They'll have angles that aren't 90 degrees, and they'll cut through your grid kind of like that. Okay, but remember, a parallelogram always has 2 sets of parallel lines. So when you have 2 sets of parallel lines, that tells you that each set would be the same length, because if they weren't, then they wouldn't be parallel. They wouldn't be parallel. So I'm going to erase some of the stuff on here. Hopefully that little refresher helped you, because I would like to go over a couple more in here. I'm going to actually do one more before I get into parallelogram. I want to make another shape here. Okay, I'm going to make this a little bit trickier. Alright, I want you on your own to find out the area and the perimeter for this shape. So pause it, find out on your own, then unpause it. Alright, for the perimeter, you just count the outside. So we're just going to, on a red ink here, I'll just say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Here we have 1, 2. Here we have 1, 2. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Basically, you do that, then you add all the other sides. You have 8 plus 7 plus 2 plus 2 plus 6 plus 5 equals, well, let's see, 8 plus 7 is 15, plus 2 more 17, 19, 25, 30. So our perimeter would be 30 what? Hopefully you put down centimeters. Another way to look at this is if you look that if you know that all the way across here is 8, then you know all the way across here will be 8. So when this only says that it's 6, you know by looking at this it's going to be 2, because we're not going any further than right here. They both stop on the same line. Okay, so just because it adds a little bit of extra space or extra area doesn't mean that you need to really freak out. So 30 centimeters would be the perimeter. Area here is a little bit tricky. Really, it's not tricky, but I'm going to say it's tricky because area, what you want to do for area is length times width, or base times height. In this case, we don't have a rectangle or square. We have just a funky polygon. So because we have a funky polygon, we can't totally think of our length times width or base times height. But if you can just, for a second, just calmly look at it and say, well, hold up, I can see a square in there. Okay? I'm going to imagine a line through here. If I imagine a line there, we have ourselves a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, that ink is too light. 8 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So an 8 by 5 would equal 40 centimeters squared. But that would cover all of this in here. Now you would just have to add on another square, which is a 2 by 2 square. So 2 by 2 would be 2 times 2 would equal 4. So then you would add the 40 to the 4 to give you 44 centimeters squared. Now you did that without counting. I could have went through and just counted every square, and that would have given me 44. But if you make things easier here, you can shorten it up a little bit by just finding your own squares and rectangles in there. I found this as one rectangle. I found this one as another rectangle or square. And you added them all together. You add the two together to get the area for that polygon. Alright, so let's go over parallelogram. Okay, to find the area of a parallelogram, it's still length times width. That equals the area. But it's a little bit different because obviously I'm not going to draw a perfect parallelogram. I might try to. Actually, I might be able to. Let's see if I cut through there. Okay, I want to make sure it's perfect because if all my lines aren't parallel, if I don't have two sets of parallel lines, it's really not a parallelogram. So I'm going to count over 1, 2, 3, 4. So that tells me 1, 2, 3, 4. I should probably go right there and go there. Ooh. Okay, so it's kind of sloppy, but it's not bad. So you also want to do length times width here. So, sorry. You want to go. I'm caught up still with the area of a rectangular square. You actually want to forget that. You want to go base times height here. I'm very sorry about that. Base times height. Remember, base is still here. It's just like the length. Except height is a little bit different because you can't measure the height of something that's going at an angle. Well, you can, but to get an accurate measurement, it's tough. So what you want to do is you need to just count through the middle. And so I'll change the color of the. I don't want that color either. I need colors that are going to show up. So you want to count in the middle because that's how you have your height. You see this here? You have a height to where you're not. It's easier to count because it's from the top or the bottom to the top. Okay, so the height is just like you would think. How tall is someone? How tall is this when it's standing up? If you're a person, and you want to know how tall you are, do you measure yourself standing up like this, or do you measure yourself standing up like this? Okay, it doesn't mean that if you're like this, you're shorter. It just means it's hard to get an accurate measurement of you if you're tipping to the side. So you want to measure yourself when you're standing upright. So this parallelogram, you would find the base, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, I didn't do the greatest in the corner, but I have 7. Okay, I have 7 centimeters is the base. The height is easy. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is 4 centimeters for the height. So now all you really do is take 4 times 7 to equal 28, and you all know that's actually centimeters squared. It's very simple. Okay, and in our small group, when you come over to me, we're going to actually cut out some parallelograms, and you're going to laugh and say, oh my gosh, that totally makes sense. I'm going to see if I can do it here. I'm going to change the color of the ink, and I'm going to show you what we're going to be doing in the next group. I'm going to take this piece right here, because this is where the corner starts, where where it's no longer 90 degree. I'm going to take this whole chunk, and I'm going to move it here. You see what I'm doing? I took this, moved it over here, so now I still have a parallelogram because I have 2 parallel sides, but now I have a rectangle. And it's easier to do base times height, or length times width, the area of a rectangle, than it is of a parallelogram. So let's just see that for fun. I'm going to grab another color here, that rainbow color. This is a cool color, I didn't know it was on there. Okay, so I am, and it didn't show up as rainbow, but I'm going to outline my new shape, a new polygon, and measure it. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 by 1, 2, 3, 4. 7 by 4 equals 28 square centimeters. If you don't believe me, you can count all of them. There'll be 28 of them. Interesting stuff. So that is how you find the area of a parallelogram.